Welcome back, sports fans, to the Sports Dungeon. I'm your host, Loren Tepper, and today I really got the guys whose voice is what you recognize. The faces you don't know, but the voices you know. I got the morning rush of the new ESPN Arkansas on 104.3 and 99.7.
People are finding out why we're on the radio. They see our faces here.
They're still trying to figure out why I got to get to do TV. Let me tell you that, because I don't ever belong on TV.
Faces for radio, voices for print. So.
That's it. Well, guys, we were talking a bit in the last segment about the football team, and I want to talk a little bit about the Razorbacks basketball. I think the state got a little false sense of hope this year. You know, back in when Mike Anderson was announced as the new coach, and people were looking at the recruits that come in and saying, well, if we won 18 to 20 games, we'd had a great season. You know, we competed in the SEC, won a road game, did the things that we thought would be good. Well, all of a sudden, you know, they win 15 or whatever at home, and all of a sudden people's talking about the NCAA tournament. We're going to the big dance. Well, guys, it's only the middle of the SEC schedule.
Right.
Now the reality is hit, okay? We're not anywhere. They're cleaning out their lockers and thinking about what we're going to do for next year.
Yeah.
And do you think the season was successful?
I think it's exactly what we thought it would be. You know, with possibly, if you were disappointed, it would be maybe because they didn't reach the NIT. If your preseason expectations were the NCAA tournament, they may have been a little bit misfounded, particularly after you found out Marshawn Powell's injury. Mm-hmm. There was a moment, though, there in the season, particularly after the Michigan win at home, that you saw, hey, this, because Michigan, as we see, is in the tournament.
Right, they're a number 4 seed.
It is a good team. Arkansas had the talent to beat them that day in their home arena. Why that never could translate to the road and the confidence to go and shoot 45, 50%, 55% on the road, rebound on the road, play with the same effort level on the road to win, that's the most puzzling thing about the season is why could you do it at home and not play at the same level away from home?
You use that word successful, and we talked about that on our show last week. I think the season was successful because even though the win total was a little bit short of where you'd like to be, you're not in any postseason. But Arkansas basketball has an identity again. When people think Arkansas basketball, they know instantly what they're going to get. And for the last 4 years, Arkansas basketball didn't really have an identity. I mean, we're sitting there trying to figure out where we're going. I mean, John Pelfrey, he knew where he was trying to go. I don't think he really knew how to get there. I think Mike Anderson knows how to get this program back to where you're consistently Sweet 16, NCAA tournaments every year, and then maybe every couple, 3-4 years, you make that shot to the Final Four.
Let me ask you this, because I've never heard anybody ask this question. When Nolan left and Mike Richardson wanted the job, if the Razorbacks give him the job at that point, do they have the success that they got together, or did he need to go learn how to do it on his own?
I think he was ready on his own because if you look at, he went to UAB, successful there in the tournament. Goes on to Missouri, success there. And obviously you see what that team's doing, but he took that program to the Elite Eight. I think they'd have marched on. I think they'd have been more successful with Mike at the helm than they were with Stan, and certainly more successful than what they ended up with John Pelfrey. So I think the program would he still be the head coach today? Who knows? But I think they would be far better off as a program had Mike gotten the job then.
But Stan Heath, we found out he's coaching in the Big East. I mean, that's a tough league to coach in, just like the SEC. He's got his team in the tournament again. And I'm not saying Stan was a bad guy. I thought Stan could coach. I just think Stan, at times you want to say his hands were tied. It just didn't seem to work for him. He never seemed to get a real warm reception in the state.
And his style of play doesn't really work here. We've been used to, for years, up-tempo games in the 70s and 80s, and Stan Heath's teams wanted to play in the 40s and 50s, and that doesn't excite people. And at the end of the day, if you're not putting people in the seats, you're finished. Yeah. And that's what did Stan Heath in, and that's what did John Pelfrey in.
Well,
and that's why Mike would have been successful faster, because they wouldn't have had to change gears recruiting-wise.
Right.
They'd have just kept on with the same type of player.
Now, Pelfrey, I just thought was... when they made that hire, that was a whole debacle the way Bill Self was coming, everybody else was, and it just
Dane Altman left,
but I wondered that about Mike Anderson. Would he have been able to sustain the program? I think it would have maintained excitement, because you're right. When you only got and I'll be kind to say 6,000, 8,000 in Bud Walton.
Yeah.
I'm being nice by saying that because they didn't show up. The place was empty.
Yeah.
Now, they got sellouts. People are walking up, buying tickets on game day. It's a huge difference.
But still, in November and December, I mean, there was still some 5,000 and 6,000, 7,000 person crowds, and I think that's just college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's not just Arkansas.
Yeah, the season's
Look around
too long,
the league.
I think.
Well, it starts too early.
Yeah.
College football and pro football just consume everybody's attention in November and December. If college basketball began in mid to late December after college football was over, I think they'd draw better. And if you shortened it 5 or 6 games, you get rid of some of the non-conference opponents that really people don't care about seeing.
Yeah.
That, and I think the ticket price at Arkansas right now is just a little too high for the product they put on the floor the last 3 or 4 years.
And that has a lot to do with it. Now let's kind of change gears a little bit. I want to talk a little baseball. Baum Stadium has been exciting for 10 years now that Dave Van Horn has come here. Been to the College World Series. They're exciting. We've had a local kid play here who went pro. Unfortunately, he's retired. Jordan Pratt. Last year took the line drive and got hurt, and now he's retired from the Tigers organization. But the baseball program at Razorbacks is phenomenal, and I think that's kind of a hidden gem.
Yeah, I think the most exciting thing we're seeing so far is Tim Carver's production. This was a guy that you wondered, is he going to be able to? We knew what he could do with the glove. We knew what he could do defensively. But here's a guy that's now batting leadoff. That's batting around 400.
Mm-hmm.
Derek, no one thought he was going to come out and be that productive at the plate so far the way he has been this year.
I'm excited about the pitching because so far we heard all the hype before the season about how great this pitching staff is, and so far they've lived up to the billing. Baxendale, Randall Fant had a very good game Saturday in that doubleheader against Binghamton. That's how you go far in NCAA regionals. You've got to have a lot of arms because you may have to play a lot of games, particularly if you lose your first game and have to come out of the loser side of the bracket.
This is the first time it seems like Dave's got hitting, pitching, and defense all in the same year. He's had years where he's had great pitching, couldn't get the timely hit. Had great offense, put 12 runs up, no pitching. They lose 13-12.
Yeah.
This year they seem to have it all. You're going to find out Gonzaga, it's a midweek series ahead of Alabama. I believe that team, last week at least, they were number 2 overall in the RPI. Bama this weekend. So this is a key week to win some games for this baseball team.
Now, the key, I think, for the Razorbacks is to obviously make it to the SEC tournament, and be able to be one of the 8 teams in, play well, host a regional, and then hopefully get a super regional.
Yeah.
And then, because when you're playing at Baum Stadium, the excitement is there.
Yeah.
And that home crowd energizes the squad. When you got to go on the road and play in a super regional or even a regional, your hands are tied.
I'll go a step further. I think the goal has got to be a top 8 national seed. This is the year. You're right now ranked number 4. There's a couple of key series. I think one of the biggest series, first weekend in May, they play South Carolina at home. You're going to have 2 potentially top 5 teams, at least as it sits now, playing. You win that series, you win 2 of those 3, you're in a good position at that point to be one of those top 8 national seeds. That way if you win your regional, which you'll host, you're going to play at home for the Supers. That's the key to it.
And we've been fortunate enough to go to a few baseball road series in the postseason, and we are so spoiled here in Arkansas because there are some terrible college baseball.
There are some terrible venues
in this country, and Baum Stadium is one of the best. It's better than some minor league parks that you see in pro baseball, and it's just. On a warm day when you got 10,000 in there and the grills are going out in left field and everything, it's tough to beat.
And the good thing is you'll be able to hear every game this year on 104.3.
Yeah.
So every game this year, 104.3, you'll hear them all. So.
Let me. What's your assessment so far? Early indications they moved the fences in 10 feet.
I think that's a good move. And Dave has talked about he's had various hitters over the last 3 or 4 years complain, boy, that fence had just been. I think just the way the wind blows in Fayetteville, the prevailing winds, I think it's a good move. That cuts both ways because once you get some of these big SEC hitters, that fence is closer for them. But this is the year Arkansas seems to have the pitching maybe to keep the ball down and keep that from happening.
But also with the change in the bat, you got to really hit it.
I think that's a big part of it.
You got to hit it to really make it go. The game has changed. LSU, hitting the 3-run homer. Those days are over. You now got to manufacture runs. You got to play small ball.
Yep.
Bringing back the bunt. I'm a huge fan of the bunt.
Oh, yeah.
I've taught my kids how to bunt. I said, man, you can bunt. You can beat somebody.
Well, it's more like real baseball.
Right.
It's not just go up there and clobber grand slams and beat guys 20-19. I think on the bats, they've kind of come back to the middle. They kind of overcorrected last year and maybe deadened them too much, but I've heard Dave Van Horn say this year they've kind of met a happy medium between the major trampoline effect and what they went to last year.
If the bats had not changed a year ago, that fence would have never been moved.
Right.
There's no question about that. But you're right. Baseball should be played 5-4, 4-3, 3-1, not 10-9.
Pitching and defense, because Arkansas's pitching, we've seen games that are lasting like 2 hours. I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, 2 years ago, 3.5 to 4 hour games at times. I mean, you had some long games because of the pitching changes and all the home runs.
Yeah.
So.
Well, guys, we're almost out of time. I'm going to give you a last one, a little parting shot to let everybody know why they need to listen to you in the morning. I listen to you at 7 o'clock and until I'm in my office at 8, and I appreciate what you guys are doing and what you've brought to North Central Arkansas, and I appreciate you being on here in Sports Judgment, but I'll give you guys the last word.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have an opinion about sports, just listen. We'll give it to you. So, right. So just listen.
You just listen. So we all got one.
7 to 9. We got the morning rush, and then Colin Cowherd follows that up. Scott Van Pelt midday, and then we reach Bo Mattingly weekday afternoons 2 to 6. So if you want to know what's going on with the Razorbacks, weekday mornings 7 to 9, we got you covered. And like I said, when you get in the office, go to our website, espnarkansas.net. You can listen there all day long, 24 hours a day, and on the app at ESPN Radio, you can listen to the station. So,
absolutely. And news and opinions. That's kind of how our show is. We'll let you know what's going on, but we're more there to comment on what's going on. So it's a lot of fun every morning.
I love your little bracket thing. I want to show that out to you guys doing on the calls deal. I like to listen to.
Which one's your favorite?
Really, mine is the Kirk Gibson home run.
Yeah.
Which one, Scully or Buck?
Scully.
All right.
Yeah, but that's me. I mean, but Kirk Gibson was a Tiger and played at Michigan State.
Yeah.
I know he played for the Dodgers, but I was a Kirk Gibson guy. I was at Tiger Stadium when he hit it out in the roof into the lumber yards. But I'm a Tigers guy, and so that's what I believe.
Yeah.
But I also miss, not to get into it's a whole nother story, but free agency to me is the worst thing that I know guys made money. But the team loyalty of who you grew up, I grew up. There's a guy in Arkansas here, George Cal and Al Kaline.
Yeah,
we're big guys growing up watching Al Kaline play out there. They loved the Tigers. That's what they were. I mean, they were what it was. And so nowadays, the Tigers this year they're renting Prince Fielder. I mean, they're buying a championship. But as much as I want to say the Yankees try to do it, you can't do it. There are so many other things when it comes to playing baseball that you need. The Yankees couldn't do it with George Steinbrenner having all the money in the world before all the luxury taxes came in. But that's just me, and I appreciate that. But guys, I appreciate you being on here. Until next time, this has been the Sports Dungeon. I'm your host, Loren Tepper.